Welcome all to our latest Reality Capture Live conversation. Today, specifically, we'll be talking about tech stacks within Skender and Barton Malow. I'm joined by two phenomenal people that I'm going to introduce in just a moment. For those of you that I haven't met before, my name is Jay Mulakala. I lead our solutions engineering team here at DroneDeploy. For those of you that have been on a previous Reality Capture Live session, I am not Grant Hagan, but you'll hopefully join for a future session. In today's conversation, if you want to join the dialogue today, I encourage you to ask questions throughout today's conversation. And for those of you that haven't been to Reality Capture Live session before, the goal of these sessions is really to bring in industry experts, specialists, solutions engineers from DroneDeploy and others within the industry to share their expertise on how they're leveraging reality capture technologies within their company. How you can engage today is by chatting directly in the chat below. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment in there, and we'll be sure to get to those questions either during the session today or after today's session. So with that, I want to introduce our speakers for today. Tyler, Ben, great to have you both on today's session. Tyler, tell us a little bit more about yourself and Barton Malow.
Yeah, so I'm Tyler Underwood from Barton Malow. We are just based out of the Detroit, Michigan area. We are just coming up on 100 years actually as a general contractor. But I'm a part of a team called Business Transformation, and what that team is a team that helps bring new tech, new business models, new workflows to the construction industry. So the construction industry as a whole has really not been a highly innovative industry throughout the history. So part of our team is just to help change that with various different like tools, building models, et cetera.
I think that's incredibly impressive. I know we've worked with a lot of customers too, where some of them invest in new technologies, whether it's just one individual or an entire team. So super excited about what you're going to share with us today and your team in particular. So really glad you're able to join today's session.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks.
Ben, welcome to Reality Capture Live. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks for having me.
Skender.
So my name is Ben Stocker. I'm the senior construction technologist with Skender. We are a general contractor based in Chicago. My role is essentially just the R&D and then implementation of any new technologies and workflows that help out our project teams. So that's trying out new softwares, different new types of reality capture, trying out new drone flying methods, or what to do with all this data. I'm just trying out all the new things and figuring out how they can help our project teams.
Love to have you on the show, Ben. I also know you're a good challenger to DroneDeploy and tend to break a lot of different aspects of our product, but love the amount of creativity.
Break in a good way.
Breaking
the limits.
Exactly. Great. Well, really glad to have you on today's Reality Capture Live session.
To be here.
All right, so let's talk about today's topic. And today's topic is really about tech stacks. For those of you that are in the software space, that could mean more traditional back-end software solutions, storage, security, whatever that might be to build out a solution. We want to use the same kind of terminology to focus and think about the reality capture tech stack. At DroneDeploy, we're hyper-focused on unifying a variety of different technologies that our customers use. But at the end of the day, I've learned from both of you and numerous other customers on a variety of different technologies you're using to fill the gaps in your reality capture solution. So I want to focus a little bit deeper into your technology stacks and put a magnifying glass to what are the different types of technologies that you're using today. What are you doing to solve some of those specific problems that might be gaps in your reality capture tech stack, and what you see as a future of consolidation in your tech stacks. So Ben, maybe we'll start off with you. Talk to us a little bit about what is your current tech stack at Skender, and how are you using DroneDeploy in conjunction with some of these other tools?
Sure. So I'm going to be going over a handful of the different softwares that we're using here at Skender, and you'll notice the trend that a lot of them do work nicely with DroneDeploy or using the data already captured in DroneDeploy. So that's really nice as far as that unification part that you were just talking about, Jay. But the first thing I want to show here, if the slide will change. Here we go. So on this first slide here, you mentioned the unification of DroneDeploy's platform with ground and air and everything. But this first example I want to show off, this is combining two different reality capture methods that we're using with laser scanning and then also our ground 360 capture. So with the new unified DroneDeploy platform, I started with the base map here of, this is a heat map of a floor flatness analysis, created this with a laser scanner, and I analyzed it in Build It construction then. And then what's really nice with DroneDeploy's platform here is I was able to just bring that in as an overlay, and that is a toggleable layer. I don't know, is that a word, toggleable? A layer that you can toggle on and off. So instead of just sending the report to someone and they have to go dig for it, it's nice that it can just be in the platform here now. And they already have their drawings and their 360 captures that they've done on that floor. And then they can just toggle on this floor analysis and see where all their issue spots are on this floor, and then just jump right into the 360 photo at that location too. So that's just one really nice way of merging all this data. And that just makes it easier, one, for me, for handing over deliverables and everything. And then also easier for the project teams actually using this when everything is in one place. I mean, even though, yes, there are separate softwares they're using, and you can go to all their different websites or platforms or whatever, if it's all in the same place, it's just easier to access it all. And when it's more accessible, you're going to remember to actually use it too, then, instead of having to remember to go to this other location. So that's just one example that I like a lot here. Let's see, moving on. Is the slide going to change? Here we go. So sticking with the DroneDeploy trend here. So this is an example actually just from this past week. That was a great story that I just wanted to show off. This is one of our projects that we're working on right now. It's just starting to get out of the ground. And I was talking with the superintendent on site, and he was telling me how he's using the weekly DroneDeploy captures that we do along with the drawing overlays to make sure that everything is installed in the right spot. So this is a screenshot here where we have the first floor foundation wall starting to go up, and we have the plans overlaid on here, and then we have the elevation view on as well. And this makes it easier to see where all those walls are, where the column foundations are. It just makes all those pop, because if I turned off this elevation layer here, it was pretty gray and wintry on the day that we captured this. So everything is just kind of different shades of gray. So it's really nice to have this elevation view on, and it makes it easier for everything to pop and actually do this comparison to see if everything's installed in the right location. But yeah, I mean, we still use DroneDeploy for a lot of other things too, just our general progress photos and creating the 3D models from and everything. But this was just a nice example I wanted to show off how we're using this.
I'd imagine this time in Chicago too, a lot of things look gray. So I thought this is a really good example, because I haven't seen too many customers start to do these exterior maps, especially once the envelope and walls go up. So pretty powerful.
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, it was definitely very gray that day. Moving on to the next slide. So this is moving on to another software here. This is actually the exact same job site that I was just showing you, but just a little bit earlier. So this is in CM Builder here, which is another really powerful tool that we're using. And how this all ties into DroneDeploy too, though, is I start with the DroneDeploy map and model that I created for the drone and then processed in DroneDeploy. And then I bring that into CM Builder so that we have accurate maps and models for our logistics plans. So I guess I should have said what CM Builder is. It's for creating 3D, 4D logistics plans. And they just have they have a gigantic resource library of this very specific types of cranes, trucks, fencing, you name it. Like, they have the models for everything in there. So it makes it really nice and easy to build logistics plans. So this is an example from that same job site. This is a really great story, actually. There was going to be some critical activity going on that day with this crane. I don't remember exactly what was happening, but there was critical activity happening on the same day that the mayor of Chicago was also coming to the job site. And so there was just a lot of stuff going on that day. So everything was planned then in CM Builder here. And then the superintendent just sent out some screenshots to the city of Chicago, our subcontractors, so that everyone was on the same page and could say, all right, this is where equipment's going to be staged. This is where we're going to have, this is where people can park over here. Like just so everyone was on the same page. It was a really good way to show those logistics, communicate with everyone. So that was really helpful there. Moving on to the next slide. This is another CM Builder project. But just like before, it started with the DroneDeploy map and model as the base layer for this, so that everything was accurate, because Google Maps is 5 years old at this location or whatever. Not everything looked the exact same. But this is just a really good way to communicate. This was a very simple plan, but they don't always have to be really complicated. One thing I really preach is the accessibility of all this technology that we use. So ideally, I don't want to only use technology that can be used by, like a VDC professional or someone who's really confident with all this stuff. So these last projects I've been showing here, this wasn't created by me or, a VDC person. These were just created by the superintendents on the site. So
it's funny that you say that, Ben, just because like we have something, we're actually trying to do something similar to, just trying to make it more simple for other, team members to use, just so, it's not a specialized VDC personnel that, could, that this isn't like the only thing that they're working on. So, submit these changes to the VDC personnel, and then, a day or two later is when you receive the changes back. Or, if we enable all of our, our product team members, for example, to use these tools as well, they can instantly make those changes and have their changes made available, instantly. So
yeah, it's really nice. There's huge benefits of just having the empowered people in the field too. And like how I typically like to do it is I'll teach them enough, or they will know enough to be dangerous, can build most of this, and then I'll help touch it up or whatever. Or maybe they didn't know how to do one thing, but I'll help and set it up and get the drone model in there. But then all the placing down, the fencing, where they want their layouts and stuff, that's all done by the project team, which is great, because if I was just to build this, I don't have their mind. I don't know how they want to stage out their project. So we would have had to just sit down and do a big information dump with me. But it's really nice when they're able to do it themselves. So it's nice to have the accessible technology that makes it possible to do that. It makes it easy.
I think it'd be worth noting also that that building is the DroneDeploy model, because like that is actually like a really good looking model there.
Yeah, that building, the hospital was created with DroneDeploy, and the map on the bottom, I took the 2D ortho map to place down below. That was all created in DroneDeploy. Yeah, the hospital turned out really nice. I got a lot of angles in that, and this actually isn't even like the best angle. It goes further back, and there's a lot of details in a big open courtyard area that, DroneDeploy did a great job modeling that building.
I think what I also found interesting about this is, we've obviously had some customers do logistics planning in DroneDeploy directly, but CM Builder in this case, I think also makes it really interactive for visualizing that in 3D. So you're using the best of the models that you're getting in DroneDeploy with the models that CM Builder already provides, so you can get more 3D logistics planning as opposed to looking at 2D logistics plans.
Having it in 3D is huge, and just viewing it in 3D, and then their CM Builder's gigantic resource library are the biggest key factors that really make this powerful for us, and being able to bring in our drone models. So you don't have to just
feel like I'm on site itself right now. This looks so realistic.
Yeah.
Let's see. So moving on then. So here's another use case. This is a little simpler, but still really powerful. So this is just a fixed camera. We use TrueLook for our cameras. This is a fixed camera that we had set up at one of our job sites. And while there's less you can do with these right now, it still provides a lot of value, because when we capture with our drones, we're typically capturing at a cadence of once per week. So you can get a lot of information from it, but it's from one single point in time. Where these fixed cameras, they are capturing data every minute or whatever. I think by default, we have ours capture every 15 minutes, but then it also has live video and does time lapses and all that stuff. But this just provides a lot of context to the rest of that week that isn't captured with the drone, to our project teams, but then also to the project owners, the architect. they love being able to see a live view of the job site and see what's going on, because they're, on this particular job, the owner is in New York and they don't get to go to the project too often. So it's just nice that they have a live view of what's going on. They can look at that while they're, virtually attending an OIC meeting or whatever. So there's a lot of value of having just a live fixed camera on site as well, in addition to the drones.
That's
and then
cool. No, I've heard a few customers using fixed cameras, and something we're exploring as well. But I think what you said there, more importantly, is the drone scans give you the full comprehensive data set on a weekly schedule on most of your sites. But if there's any issues that come up in between, or superintendents of the team needs more data within that week, then you've got the ability to take a look at those individual photos, while not as comprehensive, directly within the TrueLook application.
Yep. Yeah. And it's a nice supplement of technology. Like, you're not going to use one or the other because of, pros and cons or whatever. Like, it's just nice to have them together because you get that full picture then.
Very cool.
Let's see. So moving on to the next thing. So let me see if I get this right here. I want to refresh this so it starts at the beginning. So this is something that we've been using a little more recently, within the past year or so. So this is a Gaussian splat created with Luma AI. So I'm not going to pretend to be smart enough to explain how a Gaussian splat or a neural radiance field works. But it's basically a newer and better, I'll say better in quotes, way of visualizing your job site. So the biggest advantage of this is it's capturing. So let's see if I can actually move this around here. So this is just actually capturing or recreating what the site looks like from any angle that you create. So let me back up a little bit. This is created just from the videos that I'm already capturing with DroneDeploy. So there's actually very little extra work I'm doing to create this. It looks really complicated and you're like, oh man, how did you create the model that looks like this? But this was created from, I believe, the 3 progress videos that I'm already capturing for the DroneDeploy flights anyways. And then I just dumped them into Luma, and then within, I don't know, under an hour, this is done and I can view this. So a big advantage of this is it's really good at capturing background context. So if I process this job site in DroneDeploy, I see just the building itself, and then that's it. Like, it'll still look good, but it's just the building. But I mean, we're in downtown Chicago here. I want to see the beautiful skyline in the background. And that's just something that you're not going to get with photogrammetry unless you did a really, really large capture, where here I was only flying around our single building here, and I still get the context of the city around it. And then also, this is really good at other things that photogrammetry is not great at, like capturing very skinny objects or reflections. You can see reflections are a little funky on this particular one, but the photogrammetry model of this building, because it's just all glass, it definitely looks a little funky along the facades just because it's all glass. But in the splat here, it's really good at capturing reflections. And then if I zoom a little bit closer to the rooftop here by the pool deck, you can see that it's really good at capturing this structural steel here that didn't get captured too well in the photogrammetry model. And then there's this slat ceiling here that's pretty good at showing up here too. That does not show up in a photogrammetry model. So it's just another way of visualizing your job site that's just very, I don't know if is immersive the right word. There's a lot of detail in here that you don't get in a photogrammetry model. And kind of similar back to the fixed camera versus drone, this isn't like choosing one or the other. This is just a nice supplement of technology. It's just another way of visualizing your job site to have in your tool belt here.
After seeing your model here, Ben, I actually decided to give it a try myself. So I actually pulled in one of my drone videos and had it process that. And it wasn't as in-depth as you probably went with this video, but I was actually still pretty impressed with the video that came out from that quick, probably like 10 or 20-second video that I threw in there. And so I'm actually going to like run it again with like more videos that I took of that site and see what comes out of it, just because it's like you're saying, it's crazy how much detail comes out of just like the videos that you throw in there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then I also want to point out, like on this particular job, we started showing these to the owner of this project, and they requested to have these included with every single status report they get now. So now I'm just creating one of these every time I fly here so that it can be included in the report to them. Yeah, they just send a link to them. But what I'm actually also doing is I'm just copying the share link from Luma here and just making a little a pin in DroneDeploy. So it shows up just like a photo pin or anything. And then they can just click on that pin and then open that link that I put in the description of that pin, and then it'll take them straight to here. So now it's accessible from within DroneDeploy. So yeah, my own little workaround for unified platform.
That's very cool, Ben. I think when you shared this with us the first time as well, you said like the owner loved having something like this. It's just a really easy, simple visual of what this site looks like, especially when they're looking at this from New York versus their project in Chicago. And as a really supplement to some of the more analytical, measurable data that you're getting in DroneDeploy.
Yep. So I'm glad you mentioned that, the measurable data. So you can't use this for really good measurable data right now. It's just a really good visualization. For any measurable data, you still want to use a photogrammetry model for that. So this is just very pretty to look at, but you're going to want to do any measurable actions in with your photogrammetry model in DroneDeploy.
Yeah, I won't claim to be an expert here on Gaussian splats or NeRFs either, but for those listening in at a high level, what we're really doing here is like interpolating all the different camera positions that you could have around a building like this and creating data in order to create a model like this. So whereas in photogrammetry, the images you have are the actual images that you're getting from the drone. These are images that are mostly made up from video stills in this case, in order to create a model like this. So really beautiful visual that you can see, which is again great for presentations, great for showcasing progress to an owner. But because you're interpolating data, you're probably going to be getting phantom data or measurements based off of what you're getting in like LiDAR data set or a photogrammetry data set. Very cool visual nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely cool for visual.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben. Yeah, let's shift gears a little bit. Tyler, over to you. Talk to us a little bit about your tech stack at Barton Malow and some of the different tools you guys are using today.
Yeah, so I have a few tools listed here, but I mean we actually do use a wide variety of tools just to bring valuable data to our projects. So of course a lot of these tools we use in conjunction with DroneDeploy. Either we try to use them as they integrate with DroneDeploy as much as possible, or export that data from DroneDeploy and bring them into a few of these various softwares. So at Barton Malow, we're really big on our self-perform work. So one of our largest self-perform fields is just self-perform civil work. So we actually use DroneDeploy and the drone survey data to take that data out to track our weekly cut and fill. So many projects will actually we work with some of the big auto manufacturers to build some of their battery plants. So we'll actually use the drone on all of those projects and get weekly cut and fill reports for the sites. And from there, we'll oftentimes bring it into like Civil 3D, for example. We've even used AgTech also to bring it in and actually track that cut and fill that way. A lot of our teams are familiar with the Autodesk products. At Barton Malow, we primarily use Autodesk. So being able to pull some of that data in to actually track quantities is a big thing for us. So one thing that we want to look into with QPix, Avere, and Reconstruct are a few things I have like listed on there. So primary thing that we want to get out of there is progress tracking, installation, validation, and verification. And what I have shown here is just a screen grab from QPix, just showing just some of the completion details for comparing the 360 image data from like an Insta360 to the building model itself. So just a goal of ours, I should say, is to increase efficiency on some of our projects. So we want to minimize the amount of, in the work field as we can, or excuse me, in the field work as much as we can, to produce some redundant tasks, such as, having to pull out a clipboard and marking, what's complete, or tape measure, saying, okay, we've installed, this much linear feet of ductwork in this past week or so. So something that we can just walk through with the 360 camera is huge. So that's why we're really like looking at a few of these softwares. We have gone like kind of like back and forth between a few of them, seeing what kind of works best. And what we like about QPix right now, we're actually demoing it on one of our projects, is because it can ingest a few different like forms of capture, such as like 360 photo, drone data, and more importantly, laser scanning data. So we internally are working with terrestrial laser scanners right now, so tripod based. But one thing that we're looking at right now is mobile laser scanners, which is a whole other conversation in itself. But QPix is one of the softwares that can use that laser scan data in addition to the 360 camera data to actually compare it to the quantities and the schedule. So as you can see here, it's showing quite a few different systems here, which we like. Also, we actually have used Structure Site Smart Track before, and we actually do like that and for interior work, but we actually want to see other things other than interior progress capturing as well. So that's why we even like look at QPix. But yeah, it's a big thing though, to try to like ease up a lot of that in the field time, just doing those redundant tasks. So this what we did here. So we this was at one of our I say it was a hospital, and what this was we actually used DroneDeploy to process all of our data. So we had a drone map / 3D model processed in DroneDeploy. We were able to pull that 3D, excuse me, we're able to pull that point cloud out of DroneDeploy and bring that into Navisworks and actually like overlay the point cloud with the Navisworks model. So we actually have it's almost like a time-lapse video panning around, and as the video pans around, the model kind of populate in there. And then at the top left, there is the actual like drone video of the same flight path there. It's actually a really neat video, and the owners like really loved this as like a visual tool, but not only visual, but schedule wise as well, just to see it is good for if you want to do like a 4D visualization as well. It is like another tool that you can have in there.
Now, Tyler, did you guys use this merge here at all to check progress, but install progress as well? So like if you're flying there weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, would we be able to continuously bring in a new point cloud then and compare it to your structural model here to see install progress?
If I remember correctly, so this was actually like a couple of years ago when we did this. So if I remember correctly, I don't think it was used that way at the time. I think we were just testing out bringing the point cloud in with the building model. But that is something that we are looking into as well, though. But this was like one of I think this is actually the first time that we actually like did something like this. So it's just like another like staple video that we have, just kind of showing how we are progressing or scaling up as our program grows here. But yeah, to answer your question, not at the time, but that's something that we are looking into now.
Okay.
So we also use the drone data for logistics plans here. So this is actually the 3D model taken from DroneDeploy, and we use, depending on who makes the logistics plan, we'll use few different tools in here as well. So it could be Illustrator, After Effects, depending on who makes it. Sometimes even just something as simple as Bluebeam. You can actually do something as good looking as this is in Bluebeam as well, depending on just how much you're familiar with it. But I want to say it was probably rendered in Lumion or Maya as well. You can see there's some like lighting and shadows in there. But that's just like another thing that we can actually bring that 3D drone data into.
That's actually very cool, Tyler. I know I've seen customers do a lot of different like logistics plans or even just plans like this in general, and quite a different tool, few different tools. Is there a specific tool that you have found you guys use most often beyond a lot of those that you had mentioned? So like Bluebeam, After Effects, Lumion, or any other tools? Like, is there one consistent one that you guys come back to quite frequently?
So it really depends on the end user and how much time we have. So, the end user, just about everybody has access to Bluebeam. So, like I was saying, like a lot of people can create this in Bluebeam. The often or the common user, I should say, is probably not going to go into like the amount of detail as this is, just because like sometimes like when you're in Bluebeam, you just want to mark something up really quickly. But everybody, at least here at Barton Malow, has access to Bluebeam. So they all have the tools to make this. But if we're working on a pursuit, for example, we'll put a little more I hate to put it this way, but a little more like effort into creating like a visual or an animation. So that's when we'll use like Lumion and Maya. But that we actually have like just like a limited amount of licenses for those. So we do have more specialized people that use those tools there.
Got it. And
Yeah,
that makes
totally agree with.
sense.
I was gonna say, yeah, totally agree with what you were just saying, Tyler. It's the same here. I mean, Bluebeam, it's the path of least resistance to just make something in Bluebeam. Like, yeah, we have all these other powerful tools, but sometimes you just need something super quick and easy. And it's, I mean, there are people that will just take a window snipping tool screenshot of the DroneDeploy map and then just mark that up in Bluebeam or whatever, because they just need something super, super fast. And like that gets the job done if they need, just very minimal, or if there are minor needs for it. But yeah, for anything larger, pursuits definitely, or larger logistics plans, yeah, then we're using something fancier like CM Builder or like Illustrator or whatever.
Yeah, we'll use Illustrator. I know oftentimes, like if I were to create this, for example, I'd probably just use like Illustrator. If it was just like a still image, I use Illustrator for basically everything, Illustrator or Photoshop. But yeah, it's like you're saying, like Bluebeam is the path of least resistance there. We use it heavily not only for creating like visuals like this, but for daily like PDF use, we'll use Bluebeam for. So that's really just like a PDF standard practice for us. One thing that I don't have pictured here is gee, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Hopefully we can edit that out.
This looks absolutely beautiful. I know my tool of choice too is usually just going into Photoshop and doing whatever other edits that I need to there. But this is a beautiful deliverable. I can see the amount of time that goes into it.
Okay.
I've actually seen it start to use stuff like Illustrator less after we started using CM Builder now, because because of like the actual resource library that they have in there of actual, cranes and things like that. It's less colored rectangles with legends, and now it's the actual things there. So we're starting to make that transition more, and hopefully it goes more that way. But yeah, these still look great though, and like for a simple logistics plan, they look really good, especially in the pitch deck or something.
Yeah, it is kind of like a battle, because like we want them to look good, but then the better they look, the more difficult and time consuming they are to create. And tools like CM Builder like kind of bring tools like this to the everyday Bluebeam user. Like I said, I hate to put it that way, but it does create like a better visual with less work, less processing time and whatnot. Because if we are rendering all of this in Lumion, Maya, we actually also will use and Enscape as well. So oftentimes like in the past we have sort of strayed away from using SketchUp heavily. That's what I was going to say, actually. That's why I lost my train of thought. So another tool that I don't have pictured here is using SketchUp for logistical purposes as well. And then anything that we want to render, we can like render right in SketchUp or even Revit using Enscape as well. So one tool that we have dabbled into a little bit is Blender. So just pictured here is a drone video with the building model, just like a small portion of it overlaid here. This did prove to be a little more difficult just due to the imperfections in the drone video. I mean, like, for all of us, watching a drone video, for the most part, it's always like pretty like smooth and whatnot. But when you have to actually like use tools like Blender and use keyframes to track it on a keyframe to keyframe basis, it actually brings out a lot of the imperfections in drone videos. And not to mention just like afterwards, it's really hard to edit. So if you didn't frame it perfectly right when you're flying the drone video, and then you want to add in that building model after, you can't really go back and like edit that. If you have like a 3D model, everything, you can just change the camera angle, but you can't really do that with a drone model. So that is something that we looked into a little bit, but it's not there yet for us, at least. I'm not too familiar with the depths of Blender. I am not an advanced power user of Blender. I will admit that. But it is something that we do want to get a little more involved in as well, because drone videos are a really easy thing to take. So if we can just throw the building model in there, then that's minimal work. But right now we're still working on that.
I think at the very minimum, it's such a creative use of the tool. I know I used Blender maybe about 10 years ago now. Probably one of the first I've heard of a customer using it. So I think creative nonetheless of how you're looking at a variety of different tools, especially when it comes to bringing in designs and overlaying that with some of your drone data.
Yeah, and one thing that we want to try as well is using, of course, like the drone 3D models as much as possible. So I know I mentioned that a few slides back with the point cloud from the drone 3D model, but it would be like another like useful thing to bring in like the drone 3D model into Blender as well, and we can edit things as needed. There are a few different avenues to go down.
If I could chime in really quickly here on the topic of Blender, and also related to CM Builder, which I saw that you were just going to show next there. So with my limited use in Blender, how I use that I use it for job sites where we're not able to fly for whatever restriction reasons, but I still want to make a logistics plan. I have this, there's a plugin that I use with Blender. It's called Blossom, and it basically rips the Google 3D tiles. And so it's basically just the 3D model that you would see in Google Earth or whatever. It rips those models, brings them into Blender, and then I can export those and bring them into CM Builder just like I would a drone model. So I just use that for sites.
Are they, do they come in like as dense as like they appear in Google Earth?
It's straight from Google Earth. It's not like a unofficial ripping method. Like you actually have to sign up for like a Google I don't know what you have to get like an API key from them. It's free to do, but yeah, you have to like get an API key from them and plug that key into this Blossom plugin in Blender. And it's actually taking the information straight from Google, and then you can edit it in Blender here and export it out as a OBJ, FBX, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we'll so once in a while we will need to do something like that. So I know like a few years ago we tried something like that. And hopefully this isn't against like Google Earth's like policy, what I'm about to say. But we would create like virtual fly-throughs in Google Earth, and then take those still images and then throw them in DroneDeploy for it to process. Or I think at the time, like we were using Pix4D but some sort of photogrammetry software to try to create a 3D model from there, because we were having a hard time pulling that 3D tile data from Google Earth, because that's basically for the exact same reason, a place that we might not be able to fly at. So I'll definitely have to look into that. I don't know.
We could talk after. I could send you the link of the instructions to it. Yeah, and if anyone else listening to this call wants to, message me about it, and I can share that workflow, how that works.
Huh. Okay. So so as mentioned earlier, we are also looking into CM Builder. So we are still in the early stages. I think we're only using it on I think like like 4 or 5 projects at the moment here. But yeah, we want something that's very user friendly, that doesn't take a specialized background to create these logistics plans here. So I won't repeat too much about CM Builder, because I know, and like you mentioned a lot earlier, but just the availability of a lot of these these tools that you can just bring in, drop right down on the site, adjust any of the booms, the outriggers, whatnot. It's a very useful thing. And I don't have a picture of it, and I can't speak too much on it at the moment, but we are actually developing something similar in-house to give even better access to a lot of our project teams. So that's one thing that we're working on as well. And we do want to focus heavily on bringing in that drone data as well. Just exporting the 3D models or the ortho mosaics from DroneDeploy and bringing it into our own program that we're working on to work with it that way. So that is something that I wish I could speak to more, but that's something that we are working on as well.
It's very impressive, Tyler. Thank you for sharing. Great. Well, I know we're running short on time here, so I want to wrap us up. I want to close out with, at DroneDeploy, our belief here is how do we consolidate a variety of these different reality capture tools that you might be using today. Fully cognizant of the fact that we're not going to be able to replace every single solution that you guys are using today, whether it's building NERFs through Luma, using CM Builder for site logistics planning, but starting to consolidate some of those different tools into a single unified platform. And we've gone a long way to unify the DroneDeploy product over the years. For those of you that have been following along with us on our journey, we started with drone mapping and modeling back in 2016, 2017. We went beyond mapping and started offering other types of media products you can bring into DroneDeploy, like panos, videos, photos. Entered into the robotics industry in order to automate some of these captures. And then with the structure site acquisition, being able to really merge ground and aerial data into a single tool and solution. And for us at DroneDeploy, we really believe in consolidating a lot of that reality capture stack based on what Ben, you and Tyler have already shared with us today, from the most accessible reality capture tools to the most accurate tools that you might be using. I think I've heard both of you mention over this period utilizing fixed cameras for really consistent, easy data that your teams can use in the field. 360 and drone data, which is still critical to a lot of what you do, all the way to using laser scanning tools and devices for the accuracy that they provide. And we announced a lot of work that we're going to be doing at DroneDeploy here over the next year, and we've already released at our annual DroneDeploy conference just last month. If you're interested in learning more about what we had released at DroneDeploy conference, I encourage you to head over to the DroneDeploy blog and take a look at that in more detail. But to summarize a little bit of what both of you have shared so far, I think I've heard roughly around 3 or 4 different areas that you're using a lot of these other point solutions today. One is around site logistics and planning, so using tools like CM Builder to be able to bring in your specific equipment, fencing, and other equipment you might be using for logistics planning. You also mentioned just simple presentation and visualization tools that you can use for the broader project team for winning bids and to share with the owner, whether that's using tools like Luma or some of those other tools like Blender or Bluebeam or some of these other tools to create those visualizations. And then I also heard around like 4D planning, so being able to create time lapses, whether that's directly in Navisworks or just being able to create a time lapse that you can share with the owner to show progress over time. And then quantifiable interior progress tracking, like what you're doing with Cupix today, Tyler, is also an area that you're focused on. These are all areas that we've made some progress in over the past year and areas that we want to continue to invest in as we go into 2024. For example, TrueLook was a key sponsor of ours at DroneDeploy conference. We're looking forward to integrating more fixed cameras into the DroneDeploy unified platform in the coming year. For presentation and visualization tools and site planning and logistics, we've launched 3D DXF support, which allows you to bring in DXF files to visualize underground line works or plumbing or electrical or anything else you might have already installed on your site, in addition to comparing to your BIM models. For 4D planning, we're now launching the ability for you to create your own time lapses based on the data that you already have in DroneDeploy, as well as bringing in your IFC models so you can track progress against design, but also as a visualization layer. And of course, with the quantifiable integrated progress tracking, we launched our new work detection product and iteration to our early Smart Track product that allows you to monitor changes inside of your facility. We know there's a long way to go. This is our ultimate goal of trying to consolidate the reality capture stack as much as possible. And we've done a lot in the past year through the construction site acquisition and merging our aerial and ground products. So with the time that we've got left, I've got one final question for you both. For those getting started in building out their reality capture tech stacks, or are looking at leveraging DroneDeploy with a variety of these other tools, how would you, where would you recommend they start in looking at reality capture solutions? And what is one hope that you have for us at DroneDeploy to help you consolidate your reality capture tech stack? Tyler, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, so one thing that is easily accessible is just a 360 camera. That's a low barrier to entry, cost wise and user friendliness wise. So like a big thing that I would like to see is just like how much can we utilize those 360 cameras? They're easy to use. So how much data can we get out of those? And that's why like softwares like Qpix we like, because we can get a lot of data from that 360 camera. So something like that is like where we would like to see huge progress with.
It's fantastic. Hopefully we can make your dreams come true in the next year. Ben, what about yourself?
For where to get started, I was going to say the exact same thing. 360 cameras. That's where we got started with reality capture back in 2017, I think, or 2016. We started using 360 cameras, I believe. But it's just the lowest barrier to entry. They're cheap. You're not spending, $80,000 on a 360 camera like you would with a laser scanner or something. They cost, $400 or something to buy one. And the data you can get out of it is amazing. Even if you're not even doing any of the progress tracking stuff like Tyler was showing off, even if you're just getting photos out of it, like there's so much value just in that. So that is the easiest spot to get started. But after that, that's when you want to start worrying about like, all right, how does all this get integrated? How can I get my drone, my laser scan, my 360 photos to all talk to each other? Because like for us, with the whole reality capture tech stack, for me, at least, it's about like two things. It's the data integration between all the different workflows. And you've definitely seen that today, just with the stuff I showed off, the stuff Tyler showed off, every single slide that we were going over and every use case, it was using a combination of, here's how we do logistics with our drone captures and 360s with everything was a merge of data, all the examples we were showing off. So that's really important, but then also just the accessibility of it. So like you were talking about the whole unified platform and merging all this together, like that's good, not only to have that data together, but just to make it easy to access all of this. Because if it's hard to access the data, the teams aren't going to use it. And if they're not going to use it, it's why are we spending the time to capture it?
Yeah, and that's a big problem that we have is it's like, okay, like now we have all these softwares that can do stuff, but now there are that's also like the same problem. There are all these different softwares. So having one central software is key to be able to do a lot of this stuff. It's more more licenses that we have to purchase. It's more, more training that we have to do, more logins. And it seems like if you increase that list of available products, you almost in a way like decrease the amount of users in there, because there's such like a learning curve. No software is ever the same. You can't use Bluebeam and then be an expert in Illustrator. Those are probably a bad comparison. But it's just like another learning curve. And being like in the construction industry, I hate to say it, but like a lot of people aren't like super tech savvy. That's something that we're trying to change internally, but the industry as a whole is changing, which is good. But they're just like out in the field, they're trying to do the work. They're not trying to sit here and learn these new softwares that might help them a little bit this way. So having something that's sort of consolidated is a huge factor to us.
Yeah, I think we certainly believe the exact same. It's all about simplicity and accessibility of that data. And that's how you democratize access to reality capture data. Well, thank you both. Both of your input is incredibly insightful. I know I learned something new in today's session, and we really appreciated you having both of you on today's session.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you all for those listening in and joining us for today's Reality Capture Live session. If you've got any questions for us or Ben or Tyler, feel free to post in the comments below, and we'll be sure to get them after today's session. And we will see you all on the next Reality Capture Live session. Thank you.